Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 238 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholes, and I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Mr. Nick Manella. What's going on, my friend?
Oh, a whole lot of this, that, and the other thing. Fired up to be here with you boys on episode 238. Got a lot to talk about.
We do indeed. Mac, how you doing? Mac up as my co-host, Mac up in Wisconsin. I don't know why I skipped the usual intro there.
You're all good. I'm doing great. Really excited to have finally made it to what I'm calling my Christmas break week. I get to go home towards the latter half of this week and come home to Baltimore. And what that also means, I've got an unreal run of sporting events that I'm going to. And that actually starts before I even get home. So just for the listeners, just to tell you how much fun I'm packing into my little pre-Christmas run here. December 17th, I will be at United Center in Chicago, Capitals at Blackhawks. December 18th, I will be at Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, watching Butler play at Marquette men's basketball. Then I get an off day to fly home on Thursday. Then Friday, which I believe is the 20th, whatever, I don't
Yes.
know. Friday this week, I will be at Hurricanes at Capitals at Cap One Arena. 21st, Saturday, I will be at Steelers at Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium. And then wrapping it all up on Sunday, the 22nd, I'll be at Kings at Capitals back at Capital One Arena. So what's that? 3 NHL games, one NCAA basketball game, and an NFL game in
It's like
six,
5 days.
6 days, 5 days,
Six
It's
something
days.
like that.
insane, dude.
I'm a lucky kid. I feel blessed right now. Um, but yeah, I'm freaking pumped. So
You got to do
that's where
like
I'm at right now.
a bathroom review for each of those venues.
That's a good idea,
Like
actually.
Ray,
Yeah.
like whether it's a trough, a urinal, like how
Mm-hmm.
much
Mm-hmm.
nonsense is going on. Ravens Steelers might take that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. My sister is going to her first ever Ravens game. She actually went to her first NFL game like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Chargers game in LA. But
Hmm.
yeah, for someone that our family has like shared season tickets with our neighbors our entire childhood, and my sister just never went. So,
It's
uh,
crazy.
yeah, I mean, there was somebody else, me, that always wanted the tickets. So that's a fair argument, I guess. But she never once wanted them. So
Plot twist.
I'm
It was
excited
me.
to
I'm the ticket thief.
yeah, exactly. But no, I'm excited to take one in with her. It's gonna be fun.
Big game too. That's a
Huge game,
great
massive
first
game.
events game.
Out of
Um,
that like rundown, which one are you looking forward to the most? Is it the football game?
Probably just because of the implications. I will say though, I go to the Capitals at Blackhawks game every year. They play there once a year, and this will be my, I think, like fourth or fifth year in a row. I don't know. I missed a couple, or I missed one when I was in LA or pandemic or whatever happened there. But I've been to a bunch of them over the last few years, and it's always a ton of fun. There's something about being a fan of the road team at an NHL game that is so much fun.
It's a lot of fun. Plus, I feel like United Center has got to be just like one of the coolest atmospheres to be in. I
Yep.
mean, we had so much fun at the Hawks game that wasn't at the United Center, so I can only
Yeah.
imagine what it's like there.
I've got a really good track record too. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if they maybe lost once to the Hawks when I've gone to see them there.
What
Um,
happened last time you were there? Did
well,
something
okay,
significant happen?
last year was just a normal dub, but I got to
Oh,
see
right, two
Connor
years
Bedard.
ago.
But 2 years ago, yeah, that was the OV 800 goal hat trick game. And yours truly, just reminding anyone who wasn't listening back then, yes, I did bring an extra hat to that game in addition to the hat I was wearing on my head, just because I knew he was going to get a hat trick. And then he did. And then I threw my hat and I spilled beer on an old Hawks fan right in front of me. And he got really mad. And then he left. And I was like, okay, well, too bad.
That was kind of worth it.
Yeah.
Fair.
they're not going to have anybody who's going to leave on Wednesday because they can't fill a seat. So yeah,
Right. They just won't be there in the first
they just
place.
won't be there. It's basically cap one.
I
Right.
will say, like, beginning of this year, and then we can move on after this. But at the beginning of this year, Hawks tickets, I was just pricing them because that's the closest NHL stadium to me in Milwaukee, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll shoot down there and go to a couple games. And they were expensive, like for any
Right.
random game, and I was like, shit, that sucks. I looked and tickets to this game, like you can get them for like $30, like including fees. And like that's what most of them are going for at this point in the season. My buddy is going to see the Wild play there soon, and you would think that'd be a kind of a hot ticket, Wild versus Hawks. Same thing, it's like $35. So I think Hawks fans have kind of given up right now.
$30 to see Bedard.
Yep.
I'm down.
Could be even better if you're searching for tickets on Game Time. Nick,
Love that.
think you got a word from our friends over at Game Time?
I've got a word or two. You guys know there's nothing like watching hockey live, the chill of the ice, the sound of the puck, and screaming for your favorite team. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Using their super deal, I got our Caps tickets for this week on Game Time, and now you can too. Game Time's deals make it easier to find the best prices on the best seats, and you can even see a panoramic view from your seats before you pay. Game Time's all-in pricing shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
And as Max said, he will be at the Hurricanes game Friday. We will be with him. So the crew is going to be live in action at Cap One on Friday. If you are going, shoot us a DM, hit us up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come say hi. Likewise for the Ravens game. Any Baltimore listeners, that should be a fun one. So if you're around at the bank, come hang.
Absolutely. Well, jam-packed episode per usual. It's that time of the year right now. Panic, joy, hope, defeat, all of the above. And
Richard Pack?
Richard, and we talk about some of the teams who are on a roller coaster of emotions with our interview guest today, Mr. Jonny Lazarus. If you guys aren't familiar with Johnny, he does everything for the NHL and college hockey, it seems. A guy who wears a lot of different hats, great social media follow. Highly encourage following him on Twitter. I do. Great Rangers updates, college hockey updates, and stuff like that. So we were pretty lucky to have him join the show, talk Rangers, how he got into NHL media, a little bit of college hockey play. So we're actually going to do that interview here right now, and then we'll catch you guys later in the episode. We're going to toss it off to Johnny right now.
All right, it's now my pleasure to welcome on Jonny Lazarus to the Empty Betters podcast. Johnny, what's going on, man?
What's up, fellas? Thanks for having me. Happy to be here and curious to see what you got in store for me because it's pretty miserable in New York.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we jump into Rangers talk, just, for the listeners, we love to get everyone's background, talk about their hockey story a little bit. So, when did you first get into the game and who was sort of like that first player that you fell in love with and tried to mold your game after?
Kind of a loaded question for me, honestly. I played roller hockey. No, I played ice hockey first in like kindergarten, and then my best friend quit, so I quit with him because like I was five. And I got into roller hockey, and then 5 years after playing roller hockey, my dad's best friend like got me back into ice in fifth grade. Um, and who I wore 88 because of Eric Lindros. Loved Eric
Pretty
Lindros.
good one.
It was like, I mean, I didn't play like him, but it was, I guess, 2003, 2004, 2005, like those years, like when he was kind of with the Rangers. And I just loved the number 88. I always thought it was sick. And then obviously, like when Patrick Kane came around, it, made it even cooler. So 88 was always my number growing up. And yeah, like Lindros, Messier, those guys in the early Ranger years were my favorite players. But what people don't really know, and I don't talk about it a lot, I was like probably till I was 6. So like 3, 4, 5, I was an Islander fan.
Oh,
Yeah,
whoa.
which is somewhat controversial. My cousin was a diehard Ranger fan, and he's the one who got me into the Rangers. And I went to my first Ranger game with my cousin, my dad, and my aunt in like 2002. But before that, my dad, the 4 years he was in high school on Long Island were the 4 years that the Islanders won the cup. So like, and he wasn't really a big hockey guy, but his best friend's aunt like married Bobby Nystrom. So
Oh,
like he was always around. So like my dad just like kind of threw the Islanders on in front of me. And then Once my cousin came along, he got me into the Rangers, and then it was easy to transition. But there is a picture of there somewhere of me in like an Alexei Yashin jersey with my hair spray painted blue and orange, and I'm praying that that never comes up.
That's an
Yeah.
incredible story. That's a new
Yeah,
one.
yeah, it's a new one for sure.
So like growing up, when you started playing hockey, like, I guess maybe where are you from? We got a lot of New York listeners. Like, did you grow up
Yeah.
on Long Island? Like, where'd you kind of come up through when you were playing?
Yeah, I'm from Syosset, Long Island. Born and raised, graduated from high school there, and then I went on to play junior after high school. I grew up playing double A hockey for the Long Island Edge. Still played roller like every now and then, but I actually played travel basketball till eighth grade, and I wanted to be the next Stephon Marbury. Like I loved basketball. I had all the Starbury shoes, like four Marbury jerseys. Like I love the Knicks, still do love the Knicks. But hockey wasn't always like number one, and then when I got to like eighth grade, I started to get better and better in double A. And, I had gotten cut from a triple A team, but like got other triple A looks. And like that's when I started like getting better at hockey. And then in ninth grade, I made the jump to triple A. And then from ninth grade on, it was like really all hockey. But I played for like the Royals, the Gulls. Then I played in the MJHL, which is like now the EHL, for the Metro Moose. And then played the New Jersey Rockets my senior year of high school before going on to junior.
Was LaFontaine there when you were playing with the Royals?
Yeah, so we were they were like Bantam Major and we were Bantam Minor. So
Okay.
we shared the ice with them, but they played in a different league. But then when I played for the Gulls, we played against them the year they won the national championship.
Wow.
And I'm not anymore, but I was friendly with Daniel, Pat's son, because we played together in junior. I played for Pat's brother John, in juniors.
Very
Oh
cool.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. The LaFontaines are awesome.
I was looking up a little bit about your story just because I'm a big fan of your content, but I didn't know
Thank you.
much about like your background. And I found you on LinkedIn and read I think one of the pinned articles you have about your college hockey experience. Very well written. I really enjoyed reading it. But for the listeners who don't know, like you moved to Texas, which is a
Yeah.
total 180. You go play down there, and then as a result of that, get your shot at UMass, and then transfer to Mercyhurst. Like I don't want to tell your story for you,
No,
but
yeah, yeah.
the way
I,
you could summarize it.
I bounced around a lot. Also I think most people, my parents weren't hockey people. They didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. Kind of just learn as you go. My senior year, I didn't even apply to college. I was just like, coaches told me go play junior and try to play D1. And, my mom never really understood anything of it, but was like, sure, if that's what you want to do, go do it. Um, so yeah, I tried out for the Sioux Falls Stampede. Got cut from that team and was drafted by the Wichita Falls Wildcats in Texas. And my 2 years there were amazing. But like my first day there, my parents dropped me off, like full tears, like, what the fuck am I doing? Because all my friends at that time, pledging fraternities, college parties, like, and that's when Snapchat like first started. So like
Oh,
every day when we leave the rink, I'm
Oof.
seeing snap stories of like my friends, like all these girls and parties, and I'm like, oh God, like I'm going to sit in a garage and play chell with 20 dudes. Like that was my life after practice. So it was definitely transitional, and I'm a pretty social guy. Like, I obviously love to go, like, I sacrificed a lot in high school and stuff, missing weekends, but like as soon as hockey season ended, like I was going to every party, and like, I love that part of my life. So it was definitely a challenge for me. And then, fast forward to UMass, I went in the first year under Greg Carvel, who's the coach now. So it's like a whole new coaching staff, and essentially the start of what is now NewMass, like this whole, I guess, program turnaround. My sophomore year, Cal McCarr came in, John Leonard, Mitchell Chafee, Mario Ferraro, all these guys who are, now pretty big names in the hockey world. And my sophomore year, I went from playing like second line minutes, second PP, to my freshman year to getting scratched like every game my sophomore year. And I was like, like I have 13 freshmen playing over me. It's like they're gonna graduate and I'm gonna get playing time. And the coaches were like pretty honest with me and said like, you'll get in every now and then, but like you won't be an every night guy. So acting emotionally, I decided to transfer. I didn't necessarily think about everything in life. I love that school. I love the people. I love the team, and I was like doing an internship and stuff, and all I really cared about at the time was playing hockey. Like, I don't have regrets, but like I definitely always wonder what it would have been like had I stayed. Um, but I really had thought just like the coaching staff had given up on me, and I'd kind of given up on myself at the time, and all I wanted to do was play, and I wanted to prove that I could play. So I went to Mercyhurst, sat out for a year, which was like the hardest year of my life. When I guess not anymore, but back then when you transferred schools in college, they'd make you redshirt no matter what. So I had to sit out for a full year. I couldn't travel. I couldn't play in any games. My weekends were spent a lot of time alone when the team was gone. It was a really challenging, tough year, which is like when I started to get into media stuff because I was just looking for time to kill. So like that's the blessing and everything. Um, but yeah, man, like it's a long story, I guess, but it was it's not a glamorous hockey career, that's for sure.
It's got character though.
But
That's
I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's interesting, right? Like everyone says college is the best 4 years of your life, and I guarantee you like 80% of college hockey players would say it's like a grind. It's not necessarily like the best, it is
yeah.
obviously amazing, but like it's tough, man. It's really hard.
I feel like any D1 athlete, I mean, hockey too, probably because like, the funding compared to some of the bigger sports isn't as high, but any D1 athletes, like that's your life. And like
Yeah.
you are that. There's no disconnect between that.
But like football, I feel like is because football is like really just first semester, right?
Yeah.
But I guess they're there in the
Right.
summers. Like soccer's first semester, lacrosse is second semester.
And hockey, you're just going.
Hockey and basketball, I feel like are the only ones that are just like fully through, like when you get to campus to when you leave.
Yeah. So how did that segue into media? I'm curious. I feel like there's a lot of people listening who would love to
Yeah.
kind of figure that out.
So I actually worked in the media department at UMass. I think I started my sophomore year, and I was doing like game notes and write ups and stuff like that, just like kind of helping out. Because I always loved, I liked media. Like I thought it was, I love the walk off interviews in the NHL when guys get off the ice and they ask 3 questions and whatever. Like I always just thought that was cool. And so my sophomore year, I was in the media department, and then one of my teammates, our assistant captain Dom Trento, was doing like this talk show on campus called like UMass Corner or something like that. And I was gonna take that over when he graduated. I was gonna do the show as the host when he had left. And obviously when I left, I was looking for something to do in media at Mercyhurst, and they didn't really have much of like a talk show presence or anything. So I just kind of took his idea a little bit, made it into my own idea. Like I added a few things and then made it my own thing at Mercyhurst. And we called it like the Laker effect. It was me and my friend Leah, who was on the volleyball team, and we'd like interview student athletes on every team, and then we'd challenge them to something in their sports. Like we played knockout against the basketball team. We did like volleyball against the volleyball team. I wrestled one of the guys in the wrestling team. He pinned me in 7 seconds. Like fun shit like that. And then my senior year, from that, I got an internship at the Otters, the Erie
Nice.
Otters. So that's like kind of when everything started for me. Like I was, going to every Otters game when we didn't have practice or games. I was kind of doing a lot with them, and that's what really like helped me start my hockey media career.
Talk about that area a little bit because I think so many people are unfamiliar. But like, what do people do for fun in Erie?
Bro, I fucking hate it there. Hate it. Like, I don't mean it like the people are great.
Yeah.
I hate the cold, dude. I am so not a winter guy. And every day or like 4 days a week, you're waking up and you're cleaning off your car, and then you're driving to practice, and then you're cleaning off your car again after practice. Like it snows almost every day. And it's just like you're walking to class, like shoulders up to your ears. Like, what am I doing? Like it's just, I'm just so not in, but I had fun. Like it was fine. Like just, it was, so cold every
I
day.
mean, New York and Massachusetts pretty damn cold too, though.
Yeah, no, it was.
not
But
been
the
a
snow is
stranger to
so
the
much
cold.
less. The
Yeah,
snow is
that's
so
fair.
much more up there.
Yeah.
Lake effect.
Lake
Yes,
effect,
sir.
exactly. Exactly.
How were the Otters when you were there? Were they still kind of loaded from like the tail end of the McDavid wave or not so much?
So the guys that were the big names there, Jamie Drysdale was like the number one guy. So
Nice.
I think he was drafted like fourth overall that year.
Yep.
And then Chad Yetman, who played a couple games I don't want to say a couple games. He probably had a decent AHL stint. I think he plays overseas now. Um, those were the two guys that really stood out, and I think have gone on to have like decent pro careers. Jamie Drysdale, obviously. And then I'm blanking on his name right now, but Jordan Kyrou's brother was there.
Ooh,
defenseman. He
Yeah,
was young though. He
I
was
know
like
who you're
16.
talking
He was
about.
like 16. But I'm blanking on his name. And then this kid Brendan Hoffman was there. He's solid. He's playing the coast right now. And Emmett Sproul was another one, who was solid. But yeah, that's those are the only guys I like really remember for the most part.
So like fast forward into now,
Yeah.
obviously you've made a great name for yourself. You put out great content. You wear a
Thank you.
lot of different hats too. Do you want to talk about like how you balance doing all these different I guess jobs is the right word. Like you're doing content creation for like three different like networks for lack of a better term. How do you handle all that?
I mean, it's so fun. Like, it's stressful keeping a calendar, but like
I can imagine.
everything is so fun. There are times though where like it almost feels like a drug, right? Like, just being at a game and like things are going well and you just kind of crave like talking hockey, right? It's like all you crave. And then when you have the chance to turn your brain off, like it feels great to like just like shut your phone off and all that stuff. But like when I first, I think like 2 years ago when I first broke in, I definitely acted like a little bit of an idiot. I was still wrestling like being a fan versus being professional. And I think I've gotten a little bit more professional over the past. I still try to be the fan because I think that's like so important. And so many people say like lose the fan, but like what else are you doing it for if you're not, right? So um I've tried to hold on to that, but I also like I don't feel the need to have an opinion about everything, which I think fans do. So, like there are things today where I was reading stuff today about the Rangers, and I'm like, I'll type it out and then I'll just delete it. Like I'm not gonna just to get my own like, you know, um, but balancing everything is tough because people ask me all the time, like, which avenue do you want to go down? Like, you want to do broadcasting or content? And I'm like, I just enjoy it all. Like, I don't know. Like, if I had to pick one, I don't know which one I'd pick the most. Like, I think it's good to be, well versed in everything. And um, yeah, like I don't know. I kind of caught myself thinking about it there just now. And the only thing I need to get better at and work on a lot is writing because writing is tough. Writing is very hard. Like your brain just sometimes shuts off and the words just they don't come out in the page. And it's so challenging.
Yeah. And then you have to like walk away from it, come
Yeah.
back. Sometimes it comes to you at 2 in the morning. It's
Hmm.
a whole mess.
Hmm.
Um, Segueing over to what's going on with the Rangers now, just what's your overall impression of the last 2 weeks for this team? I know there's been a lot of, trade drama, trade rumors, and obviously the Igor contract, is one of those stand out to you as the most significant?
Um, most significant. I mean, I think just like the memo that they're calling it, right? Like Chris Drury saying that Jacob Trouba and Chris Kreider are available for trade, and like everyone's pretty much open for business. Um, you know, I think a lot of people could have said this is like a long time coming because the Rangers have been good for the past 4 years, but not good enough. You've seen them kind of hit a halt um, in the conference finals, but like, I'm not going to sit here and say that those years weren't special because I think anyone would have said that they believed that those teams could have done it that year. Like I thought last year for sure, like that no one was stopping them. Even with how good Florida was when Wenberg scored that overtime goal in Game 3, I was like, there's just magic going on here right now because they did not deserve to win that game and they somehow pulled it out. Um, but you come into a season and you start the way the Rangers started, like they were off to a pretty decent start, even if they weren't playing like the best teams in the league or maybe playing their best hockey, but the vibes were still decent. And then when things get a little bit tough to put out something like that, it shakes up a lot. And it's something I think you deal with in the summer so a team can get through it in training camp and kind of move on and establish themselves as opposed to doing it, 20 games or so into the season and then everyone's kind of just left there to feel insecure, maybe would be the right way to put it. I don't necessarily know. Um, but right now, it's weird, right? Like the way that I talk to my friends about it, which I might actually even just say like on air if I get the chance to, like feels like in Space Jam when the Monstars like just zap the NBA players and their talent. Like that's what it just feels like we're watching, right? Like guys who you've seen put home empty nets and score one timers and make tape to tape passes, crisp plays. Like it's just not happening. And that's not X's and O's. That's all up here, right? So it's hard to explain, but I don't think anyone really has the answer, to be honest.
Do you foresee like any other roster moves coming soon, or maybe I don't know, something with Lavi?
Can I ask what's the microphones light up? What's going on here?
Yeah,
So
It's just the
when they're
mute button.
on, yeah,
No way. Okay.
when they're lit up, you talk. When they're
yeah, and
That's
then
a
you can
good
mute
like
them.
little code though for like who
Yeah,
wants to go. Yeah, I like that.
yeah.
Sorry, what was the question? I just like picked up on what was happening. I thought that was cool.
No, you're good. Do you see them doing anything else? I know Capo Caco was a healthy scratch the other
Yeah.
night. Do you think maybe they do something with Lavi? Because that kind of seems like the next domino to fall here.
I think the next domino to fall might actually be Drury. Um,
Ooh,
that's what I think. I again like I haven't heard anything valid. Um, but if I were to guess, that's what it would be because I think right now it's just tough because I think the trust between players and management might not be there after everything that's gone down, and it's much easier to get rid of a GM than it is to get rid of 10 players. And same thing with a coach, but I think right now upper management's more at fault than coaching. So I think Giroud would be the next domino to fall if I had to guess.
Yeah, I want to go back a sec. Like I agree with you. I think it is a weird time of the year to kind of like lean in and do all this stuff. But being that that first domino already fell, it's almost like all or nothing. It seems to
Yeah.
me where it's like now that you're in it, you got to start doing other stuff too. You can't just trade your captain and have that be it, you know?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. But I think another thing too, if you're another GM looking to trade with the Rangers, you got to figure out which guys want to be where you are. Like, if I'm the GM of the Senators, like, am I getting a guy who wants to be here? You
right.
know, I think you have to think about that too when you make a trade. And sometimes those things don't always work out, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like the easiest thing to deal with on both sides. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. That's for sure.
And it feels like in the last week it's snowballed because on last week's podcast we were talking about the Rangers. We, dissected the trade, and I think all three of us consensusly were like, they're still going to make the playoffs. And now, like, you're looking at the playoff picture, and it just seems like the momentum's not changing. I mean, do you personally think this is a team that's going to make the playoffs?
I do. Just because I've seen enough in my life as a Ranger fan where when something does go right, they could go on a 10-game heater and be right back. You know? So I don't think it's like fully doomed as far as like the season goes. Do I think they'll do well in the playoffs? Probably not, but I think they'll get there. Unless something drastic happens and they just, you know what, that they fold the season and just sell everybody and want to start over next year. Like I don't really know. I mean, Drury, if his job is in the line, like he's not going to care about the next guy. So, he might try to do something crazy and drastic. I don't know.
with Truba being moved, if you were Drury or ownership or management, who would you give the C to going forward?
Vinny Trocheck, 100%.
Great answer.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the guy. I said it like 2 weeks ago. Like he's just vocal, emotional, spiritual with his play. He hasn't been as good as he was last year so far this season, but he's always in the room answering questions. He's always dragging everyone into the fight. And he doesn't necessarily back down from a fight ever. Like I think he is the perfect guy to be the captain of this team.
Yeah, you want somebody like who's not afraid of accountability, and he's always struck
Yeah.
me as that.
Yeah, he is. Great guy. I'm a big Vinny Trocheck fan.
Real quick, I want to make sure I ask this question before
Yeah.
we have to wrap up. But I know you're dialed into the college hockey scene. Nick here is a huge Michigan State fan, obviously, number one in the rankings, so good for
Yeah.
them. Any thoughts on like college hockey in general, like the boom or any team that you think could be a dark horse here down the stretch?
I haven't watched a lot of Michigan State, to be honest. I know obviously they're buzzing. My old assistant coach at UMass, Jared DeMichael, is the assistant coach at
Nice.
Michigan State now, and I know they've redone the whole rink and everything, right? Like
Oh, it's
Montarinas.
insane.
Yeah, it looks awesome in the pictures. So I should tune into more of their games. But one team that's really interested me this year is Dartmouth, actually. They've done really well in the ECAC. I covered their game, or I broadcast their game against Princeton like 3 weeks ago. And that team, like, they play hard, they execute, and they have some sneaky skill. Reed Cashman, who was actually an assistant coach with the Capitals when they won the Cup in 2018, has done an incredible job there. And I know that they also have plans to renew their rink too, which is one of the oldest rinks in college hockey next year. And Dartmouth is obviously an incredible institution, so it shouldn't be a problem to recruit kids. And they're a program I think that's on the rise. They might be like 14 or 15 right now in the pairwise.
Yep.
Not sure exactly where they are, but yeah, if there's one sleeper, it's Dartmouth without a doubt.
We were talking a little bit about it last week, and I was saying Western Michigan. I was like,
They're
they
always
just
good though. I feel like
they
they're
are,
always
but I
good.
think they could
Yeah,
take down some big boys this year in the
yeah.
tournament.
I will say though, for you Capitals guys, like Cole Hudson, I did the UMass versus BU game on Wednesday. Like that kid is nasty. He is
Love to hear
sick.
that.
Yeah, he
Very
took
excited
he
about the
took that
college hockey
game
pipeline
over.
for the
Yeah.
Caps.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Leonard's the most exciting guy not in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
Right.
He's unreal. Penguins, I can't think of any Penguins prospects that I've watched.
The only thing
Yeah,
we
I
can
can't
cling
either.
on
That's weird.
we can only cling on to that Bros kid, Tristan Bros, the Denver guy
Yeah.
who scored the OT winner
Yeah.
last year. I've
Yeah.
read that he had a good camp and he's looking good in the AHL for Wilkes right now, but
Mhm.
not at the same magnitude as Leonard, obviously.
Yeah, but who I can't think of any Penguin college prospect right now.
That's about it.
That's it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We're-
I mean,
like
Rutger, but he's not playing at Michigan anymore.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
right, right, yeah. I'm interested to see how Jaeger does at World Juniors.
Mhm.
I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of backfiring on Twitter about that one, but
Mhm.
we'll see. Fellas,
All
I
right.
think I'm good.
Hot seat time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there
And
we go.
who wins the Stanley Cup?
I said Dallas at the start of the year, and they haven't been like all that exciting this year, but pretty well rounded, decent great goaltending. Um, but Robertson and Wyatt Johnson are having a bit of a slow year, but like come playoff time, I still think they'll be pretty tough to play against. And this year doesn't feel like there's like a clear cut answer, right?
Right.
I think last year Florida was like so obviously good. The Rangers were so obviously good. In the West, like Vegas was really good last year at the start of the year. Trying
I
to think
mean,
who
that first round matchup between Vegas
and
and
Dallas,
Dallas,
yeah.
that could have been a conference final. That probably could have been a Stanley Cup final if they were, separated in different conferences. That was insane.
I mean, Dallas plays Edmonton in the Western Conference Final. They take down Vegas in 7 and Colorado in 6. Like that's
Yeah.
the two, arguably, two of the toughest teams in the West. Where Edmonton beats who? Vancouver and then Nashville.
Yeah.
Like was it Nashville?
Vancouver
No.
was the
Vancouver
second
beat
round.
Nashville.
LA.
They beat LA and then
That's
Vancouver.
right.
Yeah. LA and Vancouver. Like two completely different paths to get there. Right. But yeah, I'm saying Dallas. I'll say Dallas.
I like it.
Guys, what do you guys have?
I think I said them at the beginning of the year.
Dallas?
Yeah. I've also picked them for like the last 3 years, so it's just got to hit
Really?
at some point.
Yeah.
I think at the beginning of the year I said Dallas over the Rags.
Really?
I said
did.
Oilers. I said Oilers over the Rags.
Wow.
We'll see.
Not looking too good in the East, huh?
This is the start of the DVD, as they always say, right?
Right.
Team
There
goes
you
down,
go.
and they're like, "Oh, it's the start of the DVD." It's fun.
2019 Blues.
There you go.
There you go.
My least favorite team in hockey ever.
Well, we know you're on a time crunch, but we appreciate the time, man.
Yeah. Thanks, boys. I appreciate you guys. Happy to hop on whenever. Sorry for the time crunch tonight.
Thank you to Jonny Lazarus for joining us. That was a really fun interview, and it's good when you can talk about everything we covered within a 30-minute span. Really enjoyed that. I hope he comes back on again.
Yeah, that was awesome. We'll definitely have to have him back on again here soon.
Well, we are going to dive into some NHL news, and there is no bigger storyline right now than what is going on in the great city of Buffalo. And no, I'm not talking about Josh Allen's MVP campaign. I am talking about quite the opposite, the Buffalo Sabres, a 10-game losing streak. They have won 2 games in regulation in the last 37 days. They have had the lead in 6 of these 10 games during this losing streak. And per Elliot Friedman, the owner of the Buffalo Sabres, Terry Pegula, is meeting with the team in Montreal tonight as we're recording this, ahead of their matchup on Tuesday when you will be listening to this.
Believe it already happened, actually. And the summary that I saw was basically that he just went in there and kind of said he believes that the solution is within the room, told them there's not going to be any major trades, just kind of tried to instill some more belief in that group. And I mean, the Sabres fan reactions I saw on Twitter were just like, they've got to get this guy out of here. Like overwhelmingly, Sabres fans seem to want this guy gone and have wanted him gone for quite some time.
If I was Sabres fans, I would just want everything to change about this hockey team. Like, fire the front office, sell the team, get a new owner. Anything you can do other than what you're currently doing, you need to do for this hockey club because I mean,
Yeah.
we're now into what? Like, how many years has it been since they've made the postseason?
2011,
Oof. I mean, they were a point away, what, a year or two ago?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he
And
basically told them like he believes in Lindy, he believes in the team, keep at her, boys.
yeah, did you guys see Lindy's quote basically saying this is the biggest challenge he's ever had? And that's coming from a guy who has already coached the Buffalo Sabres in the past and gotten fired by them. So,
Yeah,
He's
good
got what,
point.
like 1,800 games coached, and this is the
yeah.
biggest challenge. I think he
Yeah.
literally said in his post-game presser after the 10th loss, he was like, "Yeah, I'm at a loss for words." It's like, well, my brother in Christ, you are the head coach.
You
Right.
are the coach. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got some words for you. They suck, they're bad. I mean, how do you not consider, if you're Terry, Big T, how do you not consider doing something? You have to make a move. I mean, can it really get any worse?
I don't think it can.
I
Um,
think it just goes back to a little bit of what Lazarus was saying. There's probably a lot of GMs right now who would like to make certain trades, but if the right fit isn't there in the league, like I bet you Terry shopped some shit around, couldn't find a move, and then was like, "Well, I tried to fucking trade everybody and it
Right.
didn't work. Now I'm gonna go in the room and tell everyone that I believe in them and that I'm not gonna fire their coach and see what that does."
Yeah, I mean, whether it's like, okay, this team's playing really bad, so all these other GMs are just going to lowball the shit out of you, or,
Right.
they're
Yeah.
just not offering you what you need in return to fix this team. But
Yeah, or the right move just isn't there. I don't know, but
yeah,
that's I feel for Sabres fans. I do. However, on Twitter, all of you shut the fuck up about how Josh Allen deserves the MVP more than Lamar. It's stupid, and I'm tired of seeing it.
if anything from Buffalo is going to win MVP, it's going to be their wings.
oh, yeah.
Fair
I
enough. And not the ones from Buffalo Wild Wings either,
No,
because
that doesn't count.
that fucking restaurant is the worst place on planet Earth.
I
oh,
didn't know you had beef with B-dubs.
strong
How come?
words.
Their their food sucks so unbelievably bad. And specifically, I think their fries are like the worst fries I have maybe ever had in my life.
I can't tell you the last
Interesting.
time I've been inside or eaten B-dubs food.
They like don't like you go into a Buffalo Wild Wings and they're like, "Are you allowed to be here?" And I'm like, "I'm a customer." And they're like, "I don't think you're supposed to be here right now, dude. Like, you're the only person in there." And they're like, "I guess I could serve you some food." And you're like, "Yeah, that'd be nice." And then they do, and it's like barely food. So
True. The one north of Towson, which was like the last one I went to, it was not great. They basically yelled at you for like walking in the door.
I'm telling you, those places are all they've got to be like a front for like something shady. I don't know. I think they're all gonna be extinct at some point. They kind of suck. They really suck, actually. Anyway,
Let me ask you guys this, hot seat time. The day that the listeners are tuning in, which should be Tuesday the 17th, the Buffalo Sabres will be on the road against the Montreal Canadiens, who are currently in last place in the Eastern Conference. Uh, Buffalo coming in at minus 135 favorites, Canadians plus 115 underdogs. The toilet bowl. You must choose your destiny here.
Allons-y. Go Habs go.
I can't fucking tell because I'm trying to figure out if I play for the Buffalo Sabres and the owner just flew out there just to tell me that he doesn't think anything is wrong. Do I smell the bullshit or am I like, yeah, he's right. That was really cool. And I feel really like rallied up. Like, I can't imagine that like professional hockey players don't know that it's like bullshit, right?
You would think they would be savvy to that. I think they're also probably starting to go, okay, it's December. It's not going very well.
Yeah.
It's like if something drastic doesn't happen within the next 3 weeks, it's probably not going to get any better in January, February, March.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Habs win.
Hammer Buffalo. Snap it.
Okay. Okay.
Snap it. Owner comes to town, you gotta bet it, I feel like. Just my personal opinion.
If it was the KHL, I'd agree with you.
Well, that's also a fair point.
Yeah.
That line is fishy, like minus 135 for a team on a 10-game losing streak. I feel
Yeah,
like they're
that's
asking you to bet Montreal. So as a result,
right.
we'll see. I
I
don't
see what
know.
you're saying.
Should be an interesting game. Not that I'll be tuning in. Moving on to a trade we actually had. Cam Fowler. The Ducks dealt defenseman Cam Fowler and a 2027 fourth to St. Louis for a 2027 second and defenseman Jeremy Biakabutica.
That's
Not
pretty
bad.
good, dude.
Yeah, it's
I
probably pretty
honestly,
close.
I
Nice.
don't think I could have done any better with that. That one put me into a pretzel earlier.
Every week.
I couldn't even figure that. I think you're right that it's like Biaka Batuka or something like that.
That sounds
Okay.
that sounds a little
Biaka Butu. Biak
Back that booty up.
Biakabutica.
What?
I don't know.
That was a tough one. But sucks for Fowler in one regard because he spent his entire career with the Ducks, who drafted him 12th overall in 2010. He's second all time in games played with the franchise. He's just 9 games away from his 1,000th. So would have been kind of cool to see him do that in a Ducks uniform. I'm pretty sure didn't the Flyers do that for Giroux? He played game 1,000 and then they immediately traded him.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say this is kind of fucked. Like a guy that
Yeah.
has toughed it out with as bad as your team has been for the past 5 years. I know you got into the playoffs a couple times, at the end of like the 20 teens, but like I don't know, give the guy 9 more games. Like you couldn't say to St. Louis, like, hey, we're gonna save your players about, 100 grand each for what they're gonna have to chip in for his gift. So, maybe we just do this in January instead of now. Is like this really gonna affect either of their seasons all that much?
Yeah, I would have said call back after the holidays or something, but
Yeah,
I'm on
Yeah, I don't know.
PTO for right now. We'll do
exactly.
this trade.
I would have hit him with the let's circle back
There you go.
after New Year's on this.
Yes. I agree, Nick. A little fucked up, but
Yeah. Second all time in the franchise for games played. I mean, and we're talking about the Ducks here, so there's plenty of household names to go through there.
yeah. Yeah, so for the Blues, this is just another piece of the puzzle that's shaping up to be a pretty interesting season. They now have 6 defensemen who are 31 years of age or older. And I think I read like all 6 of them, or like 5 of the 6 make $6.5 million exact. It's a pretty weird stat. But in the last 6 months, Doug Armstrong has done 2 offer sheets and stolen some young talent from Edmonton. He's drafted 2 defensemen in the first round in the 23 draft and 24 draft. He now gets Cam Fowler, probably going to play with Parayko, and he got a new coach. And the Blues are 7-1-1 since that hiring, and they're 2 points out of a playoff spot. I mean, the Blues are pesky right now.
Yeah, they're dangerous. I think this is a team that could be a big buyer at the sell or at the deadline, given what's going on right now. I also, if this goes south, I could see them selling, pretty much anyone in their roster that's not named Robert Thomas. But um, yeah, I don't know. The next like 2 months are gonna be crucial for the St. Louis Blues. They really need to nail that. But I mean, the moves he's made are great. I really wanted the Caps to get Adam Juracek. I think the Blues sniped him with the pick right before the Caps were up in the draft, and I was really disappointed about that one. But yeah, he's made some good moves. You got to respect it.
Mac, any thoughts?
I can't put my finger on that team. I really can't decide which way I expect them to trend the rest of the year. I could really see it going both ways. I lean that they're not a playoff team, but I do think there's something to be said about the whole coaching thing. We've talked about it on the show before. I do think it's a good fit, and I think maybe they slide into a wild card just because of that. I'm gonna be interested to see where the Blues end up. That'll be something I'm closely watching as the second half of the season rolls on.
That wild card two spot in the West is becoming more intriguing each day.
It's gonna be a dogfight, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Colorado's not that far ahead for the first wild card spot, but given the names on the roster, I'm gonna assume they'll go in. But
Yeah.
Vancouver's kind of on the slide. They're really struggling at home too, and they've got two key pieces coming back in the lineup, and it hasn't just worked out perfectly yet. Then you got the Flames. They're pesky. Utah all of a sudden's coming alive, and then you've got St. Louis and Seattle for that matter. They're
Yeah.
pesky as well.
There's like five teams that could get that wild card spot because we all know San Jose, Anaheim, Chicago, Nashville. That's not going to happen at this point. But those five teams, I mean, it's going to be a dogfight down the stretch to see who gets that last spot for sure.
It really is like what's the word? Jawing? Is that a word when you're surprised? Like I
Jarring.
jarring, that's what it is. It's jarring to see Nashville last place in the entire NHL. That's insane to me. I just
Dude,
don't.
they've got a worse goal differential than Chicago does. That's the telling thing for me right there is that it's just bad up and down that lineup right now.
It's wild to look at. Kind of breaks my brain a little bit. But yeah, a big trade for the Blues. We'll see how that ends up playing out. It looks like they're maybe going to be buyers. I don't think they're at a point in their timeline where they're trying to rebuild fully yet.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about the Blues, real quick, before we move on, is the Torrey Krug situation sucks. I obviously love this guy, was amazing for Sparty and everything back in the day, but like missing the entire season and Letty is out too, and both of those guys are a little bit older. You kind of just start to wonder, how much longer can this go on, which sucks because I think both of those guys have had great careers.
It does suck. It always sucks when you know that a guy as fun and exciting as Torrey Krug, like we saw
Yeah.
in the Cup Finals, kind of is plagued by injuries. You definitely hope that it works out, but obviously we'll see. Let's try and get odds for the Blues to make the playoffs, but
I would love to know what that is.
hold with me tight real quick. Wow. The St. Louis Blues to make the playoffs, according to DraftKings, who Mac is gonna talk about in a sec. They are plus 650 to make the playoffs.
Ooh,
Wow. I don't hate that. I mean,
not at all.
20 bugs.
Seattle Kraken are plus 475. They have the Kraken ahead of the Blues. Would you guys agree with that? Like more likely?
I kind of like the Blues to make it more than I
Same.
like the Kraken to.
Yeah, I agree. Wow. Penguins are plus 650. Oof. Okay. Definitely going to move on from that topic. We're going to talk about DraftKings a little bit more here, but before we do, Mac has a word from them.
Sure do. The 2024-2025 NHL season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
So we're talking a little bit of season awards here. Was looking at the DraftKings Sportsbook earlier today, and the crazy thing is that according to DraftKings, we've got 4 of the 5 major trophies essentially wrapped up in their opinion. When you start getting guys who are getting minus odds at this point in the year, that's pretty telling. Jack Adams, they're saying Spencer Carberry, clear cut favorite. I think that's making a couple guys on here pretty happy.
It should, but we all know that the NHL absolutely hates giving awards to the Washington Capitals, their staff, and their players, unless it's like Ovi, and it's just something you can't dispute. So we'll see how that goes.
Second closest to him would be John Hines, but Carberry clear cut the favorite. Moving on to the Calder, they've got Mitchkov at minus 200 right now to win the Calder. I know he's been on a heater as of late, so makes sense. Vesna, Hellebuck, clear cut favorite. Norris, it's not even close. Kel McCarr, huge favorite. But the Hart Trophy, that's the one I want to talk about. The one trophy left where we don't have a minus number in front of someone's name. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. So the favorite at this moment in time, December 16th, they've got Kaprizov at plus 125. They've got McDavid at plus 300, Kucherov at plus 700, and then Nathan McKinnon at plus 700. Your thoughts, reactions?
I think I do think Kaprizov's a good pick. McDavid's never a bad pick. However, I think Kucherov is your value pick. I mean, we all know what kind of season this guy can have. We all know the type of start he got off to. I think he missed about a week or two with some injury issues, but he's back. He also came back and had like 5 assists in like his second game back or something. So whatever injury it was doesn't seem to be bothering him too badly now. Plus, that's a great team. A lot of support on that team. A lot of star power for him to get more assists, for him to get more passes to, for him to score. He's going to be on the power play. I just think that he has the potential to be the most consistent throughout the rest of the year. I could see Kaprizov, going into a little bit of a slump at some point. No disrespect to him. He's having an unbelievable year, of course. And McDavid, you always worry about injury stuff. He's had some injuries before. He was out for a little bit this year. I think that's really the only question mark that should be next to him. We all know that, he can go on a tear even if he does miss 2-3 weeks or whatever. But just for the value pick, I think Cooch would be the most enticing on that list for me.
I would agree. The thing I love about this list is that I think all four of the players you just named are actually the most valuable player on their team. And that's what this award is all about. It's not just who's scoring the most points or is, putting the most goals in the net or anything. So I love that it's actually aligned with what the award is supposed to be. Totally agree with everything you said about Kucherov. That's where your money's at. I think given, the team that he's got and how good he is and how good, like you said, he started off this year, I think he could easily move into the front runner role for this trophy once we get to like the end of February, beginning of March.
I think he had like 6 points against Calgary over the weekend or something nuts like that.
Yep.
And I think Mac makes a good point about Kaprizov maybe falling off at some point. I think that's probably also down to just the fact that Minnesota might tail off at some point. But
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
you're looking at McKinnon with the Avs. They've had problems all year. You never know with the Oilers. It's either going to be really good or really bad. And then you look at a team like Tampa, who's just been so good for so long, and that's where the stability is.
Why have neither of you mentioned Mac Daddy's name? Why is this? Why the disrespect? Same odds as Cooch, but nobody's saying anything.
I think just because of what Nick just said there, I think that team has been weird this year, so I just tend to steer a little bit further away from it. By the same token, though, I mean, you could argue that he's even more valuable to that team. I mean,
Right.
that team is a dumpster fire this season without him.
Yeah.
But that being said, I also feel like the award never truly gets awarded to somebody like that. Like if the Avs miss the playoffs or something and McKinnon still has a crazy year, he's not winning it. Like they just don't do that.
So let's say the Avalanche make the playoffs, and we're going to assume Tampa and Edmonton and Minnesota do too, right? Theoretically, all the teams make the playoffs, but McKinnon ends up winning the scoring race. He's currently first. He's the first player to hit the 50-point mark. Do you think McKinnon would win it?
Yes, it's a points league. it's a scoring league. I think they love to like bundle these awards, or especially the Hart. They love to bundle in with the Art Ross or the Rocket Richard. So I could very easily see it going to him if he's at the forefront of the scoring race.
Mac.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They love stacking hardware. That being said, I think it still depends by like how much. Like if he's up by a couple points or something, I think it could be anyone's. But if he blows people out of the water or something, then like, yeah, obviously. But I don't know. It's just a gut feeling. Sometimes I don't have an explanation. That's how it be with gambling sometimes. And I think Kucherov's the best pick.
I'm a little biased. If you've been listening to the show for a while, I accidentally, stupidly placed a wager the day before the award show in June on Nathan McKinnon to win MVP. The problem is, I thought I was placing it on him to win it the next day, and I saw these crazy odds, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be rich!" And turns out I placed it on him to win it this season as a back-to-back winner.
What were
So
the odds again?
Yeah, that had
I
to be pretty good, right?
I'll look at I gotta look at my account here. I'll look at what's what's open.
That would be the
I've
most unreal future hit of all time.
It would be pretty
I got
funny.
Nathan McKinnon. I placed this wager on June 25th, 2024 at
By
11:12 in the
accident.
morning. Whoops. I got Nathan McKinnon to win this year's Hart Trophy at plus 850.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's
850.
crazy that that's only 150 more than what it's at
What
right
it's
now.
right at now.
Right. I thought we were at least going to get up into over 1,000 or something.
Yeah, I thought it'd be four
I
digits.
I thought we'd get there just because it was like a year out, but he was the favorite to go back to back at the time I placed it.
Now, if you had accidentally bet Kaprizov on the same day last year, I bet
Would've
you
been
that
nuts.
that
Yeah.
would have been like freaking 2,500 minimum.
Easily.
Yeah, that would have been a juicy one. Yeah, I think Kaprizov's probably, in my opinion, he is the actual most valuable player. You look at some of these other guys and the teammates they have. Kaprizov's the one dude where it's like
He's carrying the
he's
one.
carrying.
If he
Absolutely.
wins the scoring race, he's probably getting the Hart
Yeah.
too.
I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Like the goal scoring race.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Rocket and Hart.
Yeah. 100%.
I could see that.
We're going to dabble with some trade rumors here, and then we'll talk some Washington Capitals for all you Caps fans listening. Comes from Elliot Friedman, the Sabres, getting calls about Dylan Cousins. You've probably seen that on your Twitter timeline. The Canucks trying to find a better situation for Vinny Desharnais. The Blues, they're looking to shed Pittsburgh-born Brandon Saad. I'm just going to put that one in there. And then the Bruins getting calls about the availability of Trent Frederick. Any teams that you think would be a good fit for some of these players here?
Well, I know you just mentioned Pittsburgh, but like respectfully to the guy, would you want Brandon Saad right now?
No, and it doesn't
Yeah.
fit. It doesn't fit where we're at the moment.
Sullivan's like, yeah, bring him over here. He's
Yeah.
old.
Probably. Yeah, exactly. It's perfect for him.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, let's talk about Cousins. I feel like that's the big one. Like, with all due
Yeah.
respect to Desharnais,
Did you
Saad,
guys see him rage quit the other night?
Yes.
that was
That was
so
awesome.
funny. So funny. So the thing about Cousins, 7 years, 7.1 mil AAV. Like it's
Yeah.
a fat contract to take on.
Yeah.
Who's doing this?
You would think it's someone who's almost not as I don't even want to say that the Sabres are a contender to make the playoffs, but you're thinking like someone like San Jose, who's just not even in that conversation altogether. Honestly,
I don't hate that.
Anaheim.
I don't hate that.
I know
Oh,
we
yeah.
talked about Philly last week, and that really fucking
That
sucks.
almost makes
Yeah.
too much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. That's a hard one. I can't decide where I feel like he would end up if he moves.
Where is Whitehorse, Canada?
It's basically like it's up in the Yukon. It's like essentially as close as you can get to being in the Arctic Circle without like needing a dog sled.
What, like, if you're born in Whitehorse, like, who do you root for? Like, what's the
Chris Stapleton.
That was a good one.
I would assume whatever the closest NHL team to that part of
Well,
Canada is. So that has to be Edmonton or Calgary, right?
so where I was going with that, I mean, I don't have the map in front of me, but like if it's Western, the workhorse from Whitehorse, Calgary's got some cap.
Mm.
Oh,
I
that
could
would be
see that
awesome.
actually. I could
Yeah.
see that.
Him and Kadri on a line together.
Ooh.
That would be pesky.
Yeah.
That'd be very pesky. Mac, you got any thoughts?
I was kind of stumped until you guys started spitballing. All the things you said made sense. The only one that no one said yet that I don't even want to say because I don't want to speak it into existence. It's a certain team that just freed up some salary cap.
Ah,
I don't know that would happen. I think it would be really weird if it did, but you never know.
you
Weirder
referencing
moves have been made.
who? I'm thinking about who you're talking about, right?
I don't know. Are we?
Are we?
Talking about the Rangers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, they do have a little bit of cap room here. And man, does it feel like that would just make too much sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit. Kind of why I didn't want to say it, but
Yeah.
I
Plus, then you could take Riley Smith out of the lineup.
That,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I'm so interested because that's like a young guy. He's 20, what, 23 years old. He'll be 29 when his deal's over. He's only a couple seasons removed from a pretty good outing, but definitely struggling. Who blames him right now in Buffalo?
Just I think like where he was drafted, what he signed for, the potential there. Do you guys think that move takes a first round pick involved in that deal to make it happen?
Hmm, that's tricky.
I think
Maybe,
Probably. I
either
mean,
way, the Sabres are going to have to eat a lot of that contract.
most likely, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, unless he goes to a San Jose or a Anaheim or something like that, then I could see them maybe just paying it, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
For anyone listening who is interested, the top five teams with the most cap space at the moment: CBJ number one, Calgary number two, Anaheim number three, San Jose number four. Don't ask me how this one happens, but Mac just kind of explained it. The New York Rangers at number five.
Yeah, that's so annoying.
Honestly, CBJ, that could work.
Could,
Yeah. I would hate
could
to see it because, like, I mean,
interdivision.
yeah, but
Get him the fuck out. Yeah.
Right.
No, I think
Ship him to
Calgary.
Calgary, get him out of here.
yeah.
I think Calgary would be kind of cool.
The other interesting one on this list, I think, is Trent Frederick. I think that's someone that, like, at the deadline, a team that's like gearing up for like a legit playoff and into postseason push. That's a guy that you could bring in. He could be one of your scratches, but he could also just, if and when someone gets banged up in the first round, he's right there ready to take people's heads off for that second playoff series.
That also smells like somebody would overpay so hard for that guy right at the deadline, like we saw for Tanner Janelle.
Yes. Yeah.
He is the perfect like tier one contender trade line or trade deadline target. 2.3 million. He's on a 2-year deal and it expires at the end of the season. So he's going into his free agency summer. Uh, someone's gonna go after that hard.
Yeah, that's a U-Haul contract right there for sure.
Who do you think would work there? I mean, we're talking about some of these tier one guys. You think like Winnipeg or something like that?
Oh, I like
I
that.
could see that for sure.
I mean, I'm not really sure what's
Maybe
going
even
back.
like Mini
Mini would be a good one.
if they want to
Yeah,
load
they
it
need a
up.
little bit of grit.
Yeah.
Hear me out. Don't think it needs to happen, but I feel like fits the mold. You guys got some big bodies in DC. Like, would you want Trent Frederick in a Caps uniform?
Not for 2.3, but if they're willing to eat half of that, I'd entertain that idea.
We also
Well-
just have too many other guys that
Right.
are like fighting to get a spot at this point. I mean, somebody would have to get injured or something would have to change a lot between now and the deadline. I think I don't see why we would need somebody like that right now. We already have guys like, Vrana and Milano just
True.
getting scratched. I mean, Milano's hurt, but there's guys deserving of playing that are just like sitting out,
Yeah, I just feel like Washington's a big team. I'm like, yeah, like he's going into
No,
his
for
UFA
sure.
summer. Like they'll probably
Yeah.
pull trigger. They'll put him and Wilson on a line, and nobody will want to play against them.
You never
We'll
know.
just have Dylan McElrath play forward that game.
Perfect.
Yes, love it. Well, I'll toss it off to you guys for a little Caps chatter.
Good week. I like this a lot. 2-1 OT win in Columbus. Those are always intense games. We talked about it a little bit last week, going back to the Elvis drama from last year. So you do love to see that. And then a 4-2 win over Buffalo at home. I know Buffalo's kind of a crappy team right now. We talked about how they've lost 10 in a row. Obviously, the owner's coming in to visit them, but they always play the Caps really, really hard. That's always a really tough matchup for the Caps. That's a fast team, a very skilled team. And I thought the Caps did a great job of essentially suffocating them. Mac, you alluded to the Cousins rage quit a little bit earlier, so that was awesome to see.
Yeah, I thought it was a gutsy win. It's kind of crazy to think like had we not blown that Sharks game a week or two ago, we would have won what like 8 or 9 games in a row here or something.
Yep.
I think we won like 4 in a row on either side of that loss. So, um, impressive stuff. They've won a bunch in a row on the road. Are they at 10 now? I think.
10
Yep.
road wins.
That's pretty impressive. I think I saw the other day that through those 10 road wins, they've outscored teams in the third period like 24-3 or some shit like that.
Yep.
They literally have like a plus 21 third period goal differential across those 10 road games, which is just crazy. So that's awesome. Logan Thompson continues to be the worst nightmare if you're on a breakaway. Like he just doesn't let
He
you
doesn't
score.
care. Yeah.
You're not scoring against him on a breakaway. It's impressive. I've never seen
He's
that
the
before.
he's the magic conch, but for breakaways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Try shooting again.
exactly. Upcoming games. There's a big one tonight going on right now. It's 0-0, like 10 minutes into the first in Dallas. So that's going to be a huge one. I was at the game where these two teams played at Cap One earlier this year, and the Caps kind of manhandled the Stars, which are a very big, very fast, and very skilled team. I thought that was awesome. So I would love to see them sweep the season series against the Stars here tonight. Mac, you touched on it. They're in Chicago on Tuesday. And then they are home against Carolina on Friday that we will be in attendance for. And then again against LA on Sunday, which you and I will be in attendance for. Which of those matchups is the biggest to you?
Oh man, I don't know. I think probably the Carolina one. I mean, it's a division game. That's a team we could see in the playoffs. That's a team that you know you could argue is a rival of ours. I think Carolina likes to think we're a bigger rival of them than we really are. That being said, I definitely don't like that team. Would like to win that game. So, um, that's probably the biggest one. That's also probably the and well Dallas too, but other than Dallas, that's probably the best team standings wise. So it'd be a good test. And it's a home game too. You know, I mean, they're playing really well on the road right now, but uh, let's see them win a big one at home. That'd be good.
Couldn't agree more. That I don't really know why Carolina thinks they're a rival. I mean, division rivals, sure, but they're not even in the top three of the biggest one for Caps fans. I would go Pens one, because of the recent playoff history, Rangers 2, and then Flyers 3, just because
Agree.
DC Philly anything is always going to get beefy. But
Yeah.
that's a big one. I think that's one you have to have with how good that Hurricanes team has been. I think that's a great chance for the Caps to step up, like you said, on home ice and prove that, hey, we belong at the top of these standings for a reason.
Yep. I think there's a lot of people out there still waiting for the other shoe to drop, and that's a big shut up game. Like if we win that
Yeah.
game, especially get a regulation win or something, that's just another tally on the sheet of like hey, this is for real, look at this kind of thing.
That's one too where you know that building, around the holidays is just going to have a little bit more jump. That's going to feel a little bit like a playoff game.
Yep. The holiday games, I mean, that's really the only home games I get to go to over the last few years here, not living in the area anymore, but it always seems like those games are just packed right before and after Christmas, right before and after Thanksgiving. Always really fun ones to be at.
Definitely.
All right, gonna move on to the Penguins. Decent-ish week, I guess. Got our asses kicked at home against Colorado. Not really that surprised. Rantanen and McKinnon, just a complete masterclass. And somehow I still lost my fantasy matchup this week with Rantanen having a hat trick and 2 assists on Thursday night against the Pens. McKinnon with a goal and 4 assists. It was just not a great game for the guys. Not a lot of defensive breakdowns, and against Colorado's big three, you're gonna pay the piper there. And then they go into Montreal and have a great bounce back effort. They have a 9-2 win. Don't quote me on this. I saw it on the internet. I haven't fact checked it, but I believe that is the most goals by an NHL team in a game this season. So did not have that on our bingo card. Nice little Brian Rust hat trick in that game as well. Everybody getting on the score sheet. Good to see. And then I called this on last week's podcast. So if you bet it, you're welcome. We never win in Ottawa. Just doesn't happen. It's kryptonite. So little 3-2 OTL in the capital of our friends up north. Saw a lot of Sens fans talking some shit about Jari's post-game comments. I get it. That one goal, I believe it was the second goal that went in that he was complaining about. Probably shouldn't be complaining about it. A little soft. But there's something about Sens fans talking crap that just doesn't sit right in my soul. Um, I played nice. I let it go. But I just want everyone to know, if you're a Sens fan, I did hear it. So pick up 3 of 4 points on the Eastern Canada swing. Not bad. I tell you what, guys. Jari hasn't fallen off yet. Thought he would. He's 5-1-1 in his last 7. I'm maybe getting a little hopeful that he could be back to being a respectable starting NHL goalie. We'll see. Chris Letang's picking up some steam. I'm a little worried about the two-headed monster here, 87-71. A little quiet, but it's encouraging to see that we can still score even with those guys, taking some nights off, for lack of a better term. Some big upcoming games. LA, as they guys just mentioned, they'll be in DC this weekend. They start the Eastern swing with Pittsburgh on Tuesday. Then the Pens have Nashville on Thursday and Jersey on Saturday. Man, I know Nashville's dead last, but feels like a weird trap game. Western team on the road, Bridgestone. I don't know. I got a weird feeling about all three of these. We could go 0-3. It's kind of what my brain's telling me as I'm staring at the screen, which is not a good feeling. So we'll see. Big week for the boys.
Out of the games coming up, is there one that really scares you? I'm kind of looking at that Jersey one going, oh,
Terrified.
that could get ugly pretty fast.
Buddy, whatever the team total is for Jersey, it's 3.5. I already know it. If over. And if it's Nedeljkovic, triple over. If it's Jari, double over. And it's one of those two. So just over in general.
There you go.
You're welcome. Bookmaker Harry, over 3.5 goals for the Devils will be -120. And you take that every day of the week, because that game is going to be high scoring.
Yeah.
High scoring game Saturday against the Devils. Guaranteed. So
I like it.
I won that last week on the Ottawa pick, so I'm saying it again for Jersey. All right, we're going to move on to the fantasy and gambling segment. But before we do, just a reminder, this segment is brought to you by Prop Tracker. They are your one-stop shop for all outlier bets for NFL, NHL, NBA, and more. They actually just did their new software update, and man, does it look crispy on the home screen. You can literally get every piece of data. What line a guy's playing on a given night. It takes the report from, I guess, maybe Daily Faceoff, I'm not sure, but it tells you where they're playing that night. So if there's lineup changes, you can be ready for that. And you can record all of your props, so that'll send you push notifications on your phone. So that way you don't have to constantly be checking the score app to see if your bets hit, because the NHL app sucks and doesn't update. So yeah, it's a great app. Go download it using the link in our social media bios. And you'll get your first month free on us. I believe it is $11 a month after that. And let me tell you, I myself pay the 11. It's worth it. Definitely worth it.
Well said. Let's do some hot and cold. Edmonton has won 5 in a row. They're 8-2-0 in their last 10. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but the Caps have won their last four, and they are 8-1-1 in their last 10. They've also won 10 on the road, which is awesome. It's also a franchise best. Let's go over to the cold side. Buffalo, we talked about it ad nauseum. They've lost 10 in a row. 0-7-3 in their last 10. They can't even buy an overtime win right now. Columbus has lost 4 in a row. They're 3-5-2 in their last 10. And Nashville's woes continue 1-6-3 in their last 10 games.
Yeah, rough one. Rough one. Speaking of woes, TNT segment, Mac.
Yeah.
I'll take responsibility for
Well,
last week.
we're still figuring this out. Last week was kind of a trap game in general. I think Buffalo, New York, with both of those teams being where they're at, it was really hard to pick a winner of that game. So it was the right call to go with a player prop, and sometimes it just doesn't hit. That's okay. However, turning the page to this week's TNT prop, couple of interesting games. First one, Flyers Red Wings. I like that game. I think that actually is going to be a really good game. Flyers, it's Torts team. They're always going to be gritty, pun intended. Um, Wings, they're still looking to make something out of this season. Haven't I think a lot of people are a little surprised, myself included, that the Wings haven't really like made a crazy move yet, not fired their coach, not pushing the panic button, trusting the process. While we're talking about the Wings, can I just tell you guys how many goals and assists do you think Patrick Kane has right now?
Not a lot. I know that.
I was going to say it can't be many. It's got to be single digits for sure.
Yeah.
25 games played, 3 goals, 8 assists.
Ooh, not
Last
great.
year, last year for the Wings, played 50 games. So he's exactly at half games played right now that he played last year. Ended up with 20 goals, 27 assists. So huge step back for Kaner. Just wanted to point that out. Stay tuned on our socials for a pick for that Philly Detroit game, as well as the later game, arguably an even more exciting game, Florida and the Wild. That is going to be an excellent game, I would imagine. Those are two of the league's top teams. Can't wait to hear the breakdown from Biz and the boys on that one as well. We'll be looking to make one pick per game there. So check our socials, Instagram, Twitter, what have you. And hopefully we'll flip the tide here and get in the win column.
I think you make a great point about Detroit. I know we poo-pooed Buffalo for essentially the first half of this episode, but it's kind of, you know, they're only separated by 2 points. You would think the Red Wings are kind of sounding the panic alarm a little bit too, but they have not done anything. I thought for sure they would move on from Lalonde by now, but it just doesn't seem like they're ready to do anything. And I don't know. I don't really think anything's going to change there this year.
Exactly. It's very weird that they're literally 2 points better than the Sabres and they're acting like everything is completely normal.
I think there's going to be a domino that falls here pretty soon. I'd say maybe right after the new year. We'll see. Um, Speaking of the Panthers, because Mac was just talking about them, about their game on Wednesday against the Wild. I gotta look up. They play tonight after this recording's over. The Oilers, a nice little cup final rematch in Edmonton. If that game goes poorly for the Panthers, there's two guys I want you all listening to keep an eye on for Wednesday night. Sam Reinhart, 4 straight games without a goal. If he's held without a goal against Edmonton, that'll make it 5 straight. That is by far his longest drought of the season. He's going to be due. I would look for him maybe on Wednesday night against the Wild if he doesn't get on the score sheet against Edmonton. And then Sam Bennett, uh, puck picks, probably biggest cash cow of his career, and he would tell you that too. Even money every night to get a point. He's got points in 7 of his last 10 games, but he is on a 3 game skid. No points in his last three. Those are two names where if they're quiet in Edmonton on Monday, I would hammer them on Wednesday. I think they're going to be due.
I agree. I think that's great. Bennett's been unreal for my fantasy team this year. He's essentially been dragging the load of crap around that is my fantasy team.
Yeah, and then just two other point props that I want the listeners to be aware of. I didn't realize this. I know he's been scoring a ton lately, but man, I guess he's scoring a lot more than I thought. Jake DeBrusk, uh, won for his points props, even money every night. He's even money tonight as we're recording this for the Canucks to get a point. He's got points in 7 of his last 10, but he is leading the NHL in goals since November 23rd. He's got 11 since then. So he's caught fire. 9 goals in his last 10, and he's usually like plus 230 to score. So a guy to keep an eye out for. And then Jamie Benn, another guy that Puck Picks has probably got as his second biggest cash cow. Points in 7 of his last 10, plus 100 on average. Always good value. And then we'll throw a goalie in here just for shits and gigs. I did not realize this. I know the Senators have been playing a little better lately. Linus Ullmark, 5-0-1 in his last 6 with some video game numbers here. 1.48 GAA, 954 save percentage, playing unreal for the Senators here lately.
He really has been. It's starting to look like a really good move they made between him and Korpisalo, between the Bruins. I think this is starting to pay off for the Sens.
It's a little
Still,
shaky at times.
still a lot of hockey left, and it is the Senators, so we all know what's inevitably going to happen like 2 months before the playoffs. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. Nick, I'll let you take it off to the international segment.
Oh yeah. So I saw this post from Steve Ellis over at Daily Faceoff. We use their stuff all the time, so shout out Daily Faceoff. So it's theorized rosters if the Czechia team and the Russian team were lumped into four nations, what these teams would look like. Let's call it the Six Nations tournament. Guys, I took a look at this Russian roster, and I think this might be a no-brainer for, most stacked up front. I think obviously the back end takes a little bit of a hit, but the forwards and the goaltending to me are insane. I think this team, if they played at Four Nations, would do extremely well. And then I think the Czech one is pretty interesting too. Just wanted to get your thoughts on where you think these teams would fare going up against US, Canada, Finland, and Sweden.
Well, I think it's no secret, Team Russia would have the best goaltending in the tournament with Shesterkin, Vasilevsky, Sorokin. I mean, that any of those three would be the best goalie on any of the teams. Those are arguably the three most talented goalies in the league when they're at their best. So that would be a clear advantage. I mean, man, you said it. The forwards on Team Russia would be a hell of a lot of fun to watch for sure. And the back end I like too. I mean, they're projecting guys like Sergachev, Gavrikov, Orlov, Provorov, Zadorov, lots of good steady Eddie D-men. I don't see how that wouldn't be maybe the best team, easily right up there. Team Czechia probably would be the worst team, but a completely respectable roster. Like all these guys for the most part are NHL guys. Yeah, I mean, even the goaltending, Dostal has had a pretty good year so far for Anaheim. Vamelka, we know, is a good capable goalie. Mrazek, same thing, been around a little while. Could rise to the occasion. So it's fun speculating on these teams. How about that back end for
Right?
Czechia as well? You got Gudis and Hronik and the youngster Jurček. That'd be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to play against that back end. They would just destroy you, just run
Yeah.
you into the wall and leave you stuck there.
Yep.
I think in terms of Russia, if you were to do like power rank teams by offense, defense, goaltending, I think goaltending, yeah, probably one. Um, Offense, I would say is like probably tied for second with the US. I mean, I think Canada's always going to be one in that department, but that forward core for Russia, man, that is deadly.
Dude, it's stupid. That first line, Kaprizov, Malkin, and Kucherov. Are you
Yeah, it's
kidding
like
me?
the problem is like who shoots the puck. I feel like all these guys are
Right.
danglers. It's nuts.
Well, I know who's
Well,
going to shoot the puck, but yeah.
I got an idea of one guy. Um, Back end, I mean, yeah, it's that's maybe where their weakness would be in terms of comparing them to Canada or US, but God, that would be such a fun team. Like you just got a couple nail guns like Barbashev up front. Kucherov and Kaprizov on the same line is just ridiculous. I don't even know how that would work. I wish so badly. I really do. We'll see. I know.
Yeah,
But
hopefully this gets sorted by the Olympics because I think we'd all love to see them participate in best on best. I know there's issues there and why they can't do that right now, but it's really only hurting us, the fans and the viewers, from not getting to see this be absolute best on best.
agreed. Man, that's a fun team.
Exactly. Let's go over to the Team Canada yearly, what do we want to call this? Greek drama, which is just their World Junior roster being announced because, I think we all know every year there's going to be elite level talent that's left off the Canadian national team when it comes to the World Juniors, but wanted to talk to you guys about two in particular this year. Zane Parekh and Andrew Cristall. So Parekh was drafted ninth overall by Calgary in 24 and has 35 points in 26 games with the Saginaw Spirit this year. This is by far and away, I think, the most touted offensive defenseman coming out of juniors right now. And then you go over to Cristal, who the Caps got as a steal in the second round in 23. And he's second in points and fifth in goals in the WHL right now. The only guy who's better than him in points is the 16-year-old Gavin McKenna, who's just setting records left and right in the WHL and, who already made Team Canada. So I think it's a little bit ridiculous that both these guys get left off. Just curious on your thoughts.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a head scratcher. I think the Cristal thing, Nick, you and I talked about it a little bit. For whatever reason, we always see Capitals players get disrespected at tournaments like these. Same for the Four Nations. We talked about that already, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it puts a chip on your shoulder. I think this is the second time this has happened to Cristal now. I think he probably could have been on the team last time too. There was some surprise around that last time. I think everyone thought he was a shoe-in this year, including me. He's having an unreal season. So I was definitely a little surprised to see he did not make the team. Not really sure what's up there.
Yeah, last year's intriguing too because in 62 games, the guy had 111 points.
Yeah, I mean, that's just silly. Like,
Yeah, that's a
obviously,
no-brainer to
they
me.
don't know that until the season's over, but I'm sure he was on pace for a pretty good, pretty steady number there when they picked the teams too. So,
Yeah.
Nick, who are maybe some names that you think people should look out for? I mean, we're not sure yet. This could be our last episode before the World Juniors start due to the holidays.
For Canada, it's got to be Gavin McKenna. I mean, 16 years old, ripping up the WHL like it's completely nothing, playing against guys that are 3 and 4 years older than him. I don't know if you guys have seen the comparisons, but it's essentially all the other times that Canada has brought a 16-year-old to the World Juniors. There's been the Bedard thing, there's been the Crosby thing, so he's getting lumped in with those guys. And by the way, if you didn't know this, he is Bedard's cousin, so that's fun.
That's wild. I feel like I've been seeing a bunch online about this Matthew Schaefer. He's destroying the OHL at the moment,
Yeah.
or I should say destroy, but he's looking pretty good. Seen a lot of people talking about him. Easton Cowan, great name to say. Love saying
Yeah.
that.
There's some country club ass names on this Canadian roster. It's pretty bad, guys. I'm not gonna lie. It's just names that say my daddy's gonna sue you if you say anything bad about me.
Some Zach Hyman energy there.
Yeah.
Easton Cowan, little Toronto Maple Leafs prospect. Obviously, he's going to get a lot of buzz. I'm pretty surprised. I obviously don't watch a ton of these minor league games, but Tanner Howe, Penguins pick, second round pick in last year's draft. I'm interested to see how he does. I haven't seen a whole lot of hype around his name amongst the beat writers, but interested to see how he fares. And then the Brandon Yeager thing. This guy was electric last year. I'm not sure how he's doing this year, but he should be a good speedy winger for Canada in this tournament.
I do think there were a couple guys that made the team last year that did not this year. So it was definitely a divisive camp. I know a lot of people thought guys were shoo-ins just because they had made it last year. I think maybe the talent pool was a little bit better this year and they didn't make it. So obviously that's hard to see. But let's also not forget that last year's team got bounced pretty early.
Yeah, yeah, it did. maybe that's why they went that route.
Let's go ahead and move into my NCAA team of the week. Well, there's going to be some bias here, as you can probably understand, because Sparty went into Minnesota, two really tough games, Friday and Saturday. They tied their matchup on Friday night, which ended up going to overtime and a shootout, which Sparty won. So they get the extra point in the standings. I hate that college hockey does ties.
I've never really understood that. It's
This
very
is not
strange.
soccer. It works for soccer. It does not work for hockey. Just keep playing until someone puts the puck in the net, please, for the love of God. But my actual NCAA team this week, I have to go Wumbo. Unfortunately, it's going to be the Wisconsin Badgers. They go into the number 8 Michigan Wolverines home arena and just absolutely have their way with them on Friday night, winning 4-0. I think at one point during the third period, there was a graphic that popped up that said Michigan hadn't scored a goal in like 130 minutes of hockey or something like that. So, personally, love to see that. That's awesome. But I do think that coming towards the end of the season and the Frozen Four, I think Wisconsin could really disrupt some people's plans for going deep.
Yeah, good insight. I know there's a couple listeners who get their college hockey junkie info from you on here. So
Oh, my
always appreciate
condolences.
it. All right, trivia, and we're out of here. Mac.
Yeah, I've got a quick 3-parter. I actually think this will be quick, even though it's 3 parts. It's kind of easy, but what I will tell you is all 3 of these kind of follow the same theme. So we'll see if you pick up on it by the time we hit the first one, maybe the second one, for sure by the third one. All right, let's start it out. So on this day in hockey history, all 3 of these things I'm going to ask you happened on December 16th, just in different years. But there's a theme about kind of all of it too. So first thing, and this is probably the easiest one, I think. This team lost to another team on December 16th, 2014, in the longest shootout in the history of the league. So I need both teams, and then I need the goal scorer that finally put an end to the night. For bonus points, if you can tell me how many combined shootout goals were scored, that was also an NHL record.
So I think I know this.
Okay.
Nick, you smiled. You got it.
Okay, so one of these teams is relevant to me, obviously,
Correct.
and the other one would be the Florida Panthers.
Correct.
So if
Wow.
I'm gonna like spitball here, but I think that one went 17 rounds.
I don't have the round.
You have the number
No,
of shooters.
20th round, I believe.
Damn.
Yeah, 20 rounds. It was between the Capitals and the Panthers.
Did you win the game, Nick?
No, they lost to the Panthers.
We did lose. So who was the winning goal scorer for the Panthers?
Was it Nick Bukestad?
It was Nick Bukestad.
Holy shit.
And how many goals were scored?
Oh my God.
Again, it's a record. No, there's never been this many goals scored in one shootout.
12.
11.
Nice,
Like,
Harry.
I guess it couldn't be even.
Yeah.
Pretty close. Pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to part 2. Let's see if you can figure out the theme here.
I'm an idiot.
This team hosted another team on December 16th, 2017. And this is a little bit of a giveaway, maybe. Nearly 34,000 fans packed this arena to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the first NHL game. I need the 2 teams. I need the goalie who made 38 saves in a shutout win, and I need the game-winning goal scorer.
2017, so it's got to be Montreal.
Canadians were one of the teams, yes.
I'm going to assume the other one is like Toronto.
No.
Was it the Bruins?
No.
Is it the Rangers?
Nope. Not an original 6 team.
That's
Senators.
blasphemy.
It was the Senators.
Okay.
And
So
I've got the teams. Senators hosted the Canadians on December 16th, 2017 at the NHL 100 Classic. Nearly 34,000 fans packed Lansdowne Park to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the first NHL game. This goalie made 38 saves in his team's 3-0 win, with this player scoring the game-winning goal.
27. I mean, I'm going to guess Carey Price.
Nope.
Peter Budaj.
Nope.
Oh,
The Dustin Tokarski.
Nope.
good guess. 2017 Habs goalies. Who was Price's backup?
Is it Halak?
Nope.
Oh my God. We know this goalie, right? This isn't some like,
Oh, you know him.
okay.
So he played for Washington.
I feel like my like gaps in like Habs goaltenders like knowledge is like this year.
Who
Like
played
any
for the? Who's a goalie that played for the Caps and the Habs?
UA.
Was it you? That was too late.
Why do you guys think the Habs won?
Oh, true.
Oh, Greg Anderson.
Yes, sir. There we go.
Nice.
I never said the Habs won.
I'm noticing the trend now.
Yeah.
I understand the trend. And then the guy who scored the game-winning goal, so he scored the first goal of the game for the Senators in 2017. That would be Mike Hoffman.
No. Good guess, though.
Jason Spezza.
Nope.
Eric Carlson.
No. Still in the league, different team now. Younger. This was probably like his first or second year, I would think.
Oh, wow.
Well, everyone on that 2017 team is gone because Chris Kunitz imploded their brains. So, trying to think of younger.
Colin Greening.
Oh, Ryan DeZingle.
Nope.
Fuck.
Good guess, dude.
Still in the league, though. Zingle's not in.
Oh, sorry.
Still in the league on a different
Actually,
team.
I'm so wrong. This was not his first year. Apparently, his
Okay.
first year was 2012, 2013. So my apologies. But
Okay.
he was a Senator for like a while, and then he's been on his current team since 2019.
Gotcha.
Still in the league. Who was on that team?
It's not Derek Brassard, is it?
Nope.
Okay.
Who was on that team? I'm thinking about that Eastern Conference Finals. I'm going through. It's like Bobby Ryan, Hoffman, Carlson, all these names that come. The Zingle. Who else was on that team?
In 2017.
Yeah, because that was the year we beat them in
Right.
triple overtime. And that's where I'm.
He had a good postseason that year, if I recall, too. He had a good amount of goals.
Jean-Gabriel Pageau.
There you go. Yeah.
Way to pull that, Nick.
Yes, sir. JG Pageau.
Damn.
All right. So Harry thinks he knows the theme. We'll see if that's true or not. Question 3, final question. No shootout was needed on December 16th, 2018, as this player scored in overtime to beat his opponent 3-2. This should be easy. It was his 21st regular season overtime goal. He has since added 4 more, assuming this is up to date. I'm not 100% sure it is. And it's 25 are the most in league history, 6 more than Sidney Crosby and Jaromir Jagr.
Who is Ovechkin, Alex?
Correct.
Nice.
I don't really think it matters who he beat. He beat the Anaheim Ducks. What is the theme, Harry?
Washington Capitals had ties to all 3 answers.
That's actually not the theme.
Oh, I thought because of Craig Anderson.
That is true. That is technically a theme.
What is
the theme here is capital cities,
Ooh.
Ottawa
Ooh.
and Washington, D.C. And there's one other. I wasn't going to use this as a trivia because it doesn't really lend itself to trivia, but a lot. This is actually kind of wild. A lot has happened in Ottawa, or like for the Senators franchise and for the Capitals franchise on December 16th. Over the years, it was actually the date in 1991 that the Senators were added to the NHL. It was also the date in 2002 that Daniel Alfredsson played in his 500th career game. It was also the date in 2000 that Ole Kolzig reached his 19th career shutout. In the same game, Bondra became the 7th player in team history to play in 700 games.
Holy shit.
Yeah, basically there's just a shit ton of like milestones that have happened for the Capitals and the Senators on December 16th. So kind of interesting.
My parents' anniversary. Shout out to them. Good
It's
job.
interesting
that?
that both of those teams are capitals and both of those cities have senators.
Good one.
I have no idea if Canada has senators or not. I'm sorry
I
if
mean,
I
I'm
got that
I
wrong,
actually
but
don't
yeah,
either.
yeah.
They're probably called like Chancellor men or some shit. I don't
Monty.
know.
Um,
We should go.
Yeah.
we should go. It's been a long evening. Appreciate the love and support as always. We will be at the game on Friday, Cap One Arena, saying it for the 5th time, so you don't forget. And follow along on Mac's journey of touring every sports arena in 6 days. I'm sure he will be active on Twitter about that. You should post a photo at everyone or something like that.
Yeah. Twitter, Instagram, my personal handles, EB handles. You'll find it all.
Any final notes?
Nope, I'm all good.
Last thing, congrats to loyal listener Mark Cotteraro. I know the
Yes.
Rangers suck, but congratulations
Yes.
to you on your engagement over the weekend. Had a great
Yeah.
time. All right. That'll wrap it up for us, folks. If we don't talk to you before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas, and we'll get back to you guys later. Without further ado,
Class dismissed.